What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the More Creatives podcast. We're here. We got Pete, as always. And today joining us, we got Jude Inslee.
Let's go.
Bro, you do a lot of different things.
This is true.
You do a lot of stuff for Saddleback Church here in OC.
Yes.
What else do you do? Hillsong College, you help out still with Hillsong and do their video editing and production and stuff like that. And also, you work with us.
This is true as well.
So Jude is the real mastermind behind everything More Creatives.
Yeah.
So he says,
I'll let you guys
Zach
do
and I are
this.
still trying to determine if that's real or not.
It's this made up role that I have.
I love it, man. I love it. You even got your own cards and stickers. And
Yeah. It gives me more of a confidence going into things. If you pretend you have a higher role than you actually do, then you're like, I could kind of just chill out.
Yeah, Jude actually built this whole thing.
Yeah.
And,
Dude, I love it. Love it.
and then I changed the name.
I was like, I don't want it anymore. You can have it.
It was a birthday present.
Yeah. I spent so many months in my room laboring over creating this company.
Yeah.
Barely saw my roommates at all.
You know, funny story. Me and Jude used to live together for a long time.
Yeah.
Now, that was when you guys, was it in Phoenix or?
No, we didn't actually. Yeah. Until we moved to California together.
Okay.
Then
Santa Ana.
Yeah.
But okay, outside looking in, what was it like living with me? What did you notice?
I forgot that I lived with you, honestly, because.
Ow.
Okay, well, no. Okay, listen. For clarity, like Zach was building this company basically only a few months into living together. So I was finishing up college at the time, and he was. Where were you first working at when you first moved out here?
I wasn't.
Oh, you weren't? Okay, yeah.
No.
So he decided to start working on this company and whatnot, and so he was in his room from AM to AM, like from like
Legitimately, yeah. I
from
can
like
see it
7 a.m. to like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Just building this company, and you started working for K-Wave, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
And then you decide that you want to go and pursue this dream, and we've seen the fruit of that, which is super awesome. But Zach, like you probably wouldn't think this, but he's a very introverted kind of guy. It kind of takes a little bit of getting to know him. I think you've become a lot more extroverted when it comes to meeting people and whatnot. But I think initially you kind of have to like get to know you before you're like, oh, okay, we can be like chill and cool and whatever else.
Yeah. That's what it's like for a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
I'm a extroverted introvert.
I feel like a lot of people claim that title.
No, literally. That's what I was gonna say. Like, literally, everybody says that, but it's like I don't think it ever. Like, I feel like it in some ways people are like kind of extrovert, kind of introvert, in a way. But like overall, I'm introverted. I think I used to be extroverted for the most part. But.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
See, what do you think led you to be more introverted?
Well, when you build something like this at 20, 21 years old, like you're kind of alone, like there's not a lot of people doing what I did, like staying up late and working. Like I'm at the office till 12:30, not because I have to be, because I, want to be. And there's not a lot of people my age with that mindset. And like this isn't like an ego thing or at all,
No.
But like I put in the hard work that a lot of people can't really relate to that, at my age. So I feel like that kind of made me separate from community, and some of it was unhealthy, like not coming out of my room was probably not healthy. Cause I do miss you guys and like miss like all the crazy fun college life times, but definitely worth it. Definitely worth every second of it. But I guess that's why. I would say that.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes something for sure. I mean, when you're starting up something that is yours, it requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of focus and energy. I mean, you're giving birth to something. You're giving new life to something. And so who's going to care about it more than the person that it originates from, or that it, that it comes from. And so it's definitely something that's been cool. I mean, for Zach and I, and just knowing each other and then starting this thing. And I mean, I can vouch for it. I mean, both him and I were texting each other. It was like, all right, bro, it was like past midnight last night. was like, good night, man. I'm out. I'm done. And he's like, same. He's like, I'm going home too. So
let's get this clear, by the way. It wasn't just me. I was probably on Zoom with Pete the whole time. The whole time.
Yeah, it's either Zoom or we're texting.
Just
either
hours.
one, it's just to help keep us focused and keep us motivated. Because I'll text him and be like, hey, bro, I'm going to be jumping on here for like the next 2-3 hours. So if you need me, I am here. And then he'll be sending me stuff, or I'll send him something. And it's just kind of to know, like, hey, we got each other's backs, and a little bit of accountability, but more along the lines of, like, you know, because creativity, when you're doing stuff, you're usually working by yourself or trying to get in the zone. And we've talked about it before, but kind of knowing, like, hey, I've got somebody else that's in my corner that's also putting some work in, that's also helping support it. It just feeds you a little bit,
right?
You know, so
yeah, for sure.
That's something I found that, like, I lacked for a while, is like not being around creatives, and I found myself like finding my look, I guess I would say, and I'd revert back to that and be like, all right, let's just recreate that. But as soon as, like, I start to have conversations with creatives, I feel like a dream, like, bursts again. And then, like, you remember why you started in the first place. Like, the creativity just sparks back up. And I think there's a time for, like, solitude and being like, all right, I need to be left alone to kind of, you know, figure out my thoughts or figure out where I want to go with this. And I feel like that's more of a strategic thing. But there is a sense of creativity that, like, you get in community that you can't find in isolation. And I think a lot of creatives miss that, because, like, we tend to become introverted, and I'm not saying like it was bad what you did, but I'm saying that there are extremes to both. Is that you have to find the proper solitude that you need, but you have to find, like, the creativity and community together. And that's what Saddlebacks helped a whole lot with me, is that I get to collaborate with people, and we were trying, like, new things, and they were excited when they brought me on to Saddleback, is because they had, like, this look they had for a long time, for like 3 years, and they're like, all right, we're capturing the same thing, you know, we know the look that we have, we know the layout. And then they were scared to branch out because they'd get shut down. But they brought in, like, new management, new oversights and whatnot. And so me, like, I didn't know they had this theme and look and everything. So I was just doing whatever I did.
Yeah.
And so they saw that I got the green light for that. And they're like, okay, like, keep pushing the boundary, because that gives us the freedom to be able to do that as well. And so it's been cool to see the progression even in that job, to where they kind of want me to test the boundaries and find it for them, so that they can also, like, jump out of the, like, layout or the theme that they've been used to. And I think that's kind of like a slow death for creatives, is when you stick to the same theme over and over again and create, like, that same repetition and pattern.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, God is constantly downloading, like, new ideas from heaven. Like, I think we've almost, like, sometimes we feel like every idea has been laid out ever that could possibly be done. But I feel like God kind of, like, stores up ideas that he wants to kind of, like, give revelation to at certain times. Like AI, like, God saved AI for this generation, for better or for worse. But I mean, that's up to us for use. But there is a lot of creative things to explore and find. And I think we limit ourselves so much to what's been done in the past. And to say that every sort of style has already been created, there's not any new pathways that we can make. And I think that's just a lie that the enemy wants to say, that, like, you know, you're boxed into this thing that's, everything's already been created already. And so I'm excited to see, like, what this new technology, like, creates for us opportunity for. Because there's a lot we can use it for. We're seeing English being translated into another language. You could translate this podcast into whatever language you want.
I know, we
and
were
it would reach
joking about
people.
that earlier. Zach and I, we were telling Jude that if he misbehaved during this conversation piece, we were going to take your whole entire audio and put it into Spanish the entire episode. That would have been awesome.
Put into a language only like 10 people speak.
Whoa! Wait a minute, man! I wouldn't go there. That would get you in trouble. But
Yeah, probably.
yeah, So I love what you said just a little bit ago about, you know, if you find yourself getting stuck in a box, like, that actually can lead to death as a creative. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, can we dive into that a little bit more, as far as maybe what does that look like? You know, because I think for us as creatives, we can get caught up in going that we sometimes don't realize it, but we feel something's off. Like, can you describe that to us, or, like, what have you noticed, or what have you seen from your perspective and different things like that?
Yeah, I feel kind of like when I find myself in a repetition phase, or when I'm doing the same thing over and over again without aspirations of trying to reach new creative levels or bringing new ideas to it, I find myself putting it off to the last minute. I find myself procrastinating into it because it doesn't become something I enjoy anymore. It becomes a task to get done, something to check off. And I'm not saying though that guidelines are always the worst thing, because I feel like we can be most creative when we're given kind of boundaries too. So I'm saying like there's a balance to find in between, because when someone gives me a project and they're like, you can do whatever you want, then I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do with it. But if you give me kind of like boundaries or guidelines too with it, then I could be like, all right, how can I stretch this to the max capacity possible? And how can I find kind of like the loophole with it? And that's a fun part of being creative. They did this, one thing with like elementary school kids where they were like, all right, we're going to give you a blank sheet of paper with a clock on it, but no hands. And then they're like, go and find whatever you want to create hands. And so they would do basic things. It would be like kitchen utensils or straws or like, little things like that. But then they would like crack down on kind of like the guidelines and be like, all right, it has to be green and it has to, be this sort of texture or something like that. And then you'd see them start to kind of like be super creative with the things that they'd find with it. And I think that's totally something that we could find as creatives too, is that boundaries aren't always like a bad thing. It's just something that you have to figure out how to be creative with.
Yeah.
And so going back to like the slow death though, is that like you always, like there's always new ideas that God is breathing and God is giving. Like it says that God wants to do a new thing. And so if you're constantly stuck in the old ways or the old methods, and I think like the church has even like been kind of like holding back on like new methods to reaching people. But it's not that like the message changes, it's that the method does. Yeah. And so we're in a generation where we have new methods available and new ways to access and reach people. Yeah. And so it's super exciting for me to be like, all right, if this is what we're making now, I can't wait to see 10, 15 years from now what's available to us. And so I think guidelines aren't always the like death of things, but I think there's a fine balance of both.
Yeah, I think we've worked, each of us in this circle here, right? We've worked partnered up with different people, have different clients, different projects. And I know Zach and I have had some conversations too, because I love branding. Like I absolutely love that type of stuff. But branding goes just beyond the surface level of what it looks like.
Right.
But sometimes I feel that we can get so stuck or so married to the brand, forgetting like, where did the brand come from in the first place?
Right.
There's an essence, there's a feeling, there's something that it moves you, right? And that always relates to like values and to character and to what is really prioritized. So it's not always about a single color or a font typesetting or different things like that, but it's really about the essence of the brand. It's the essence of who you're working for. It's the essence of what you're trying to communicate, what story you're trying to tell. And so I believe too, as well, that sometimes we can get stuck into a slow death when we're so married to the brand that we forget, like, what is it that actually moved us to create the brand in the first place? Mm-hmm. So I love you saying that type of stuff, because those are definitely some struggles that I feel for a lot of us who are listening or watching. Like we come face to face with that, whether it's in our own self, with our own systems that we do, or who we're working with or working for, so.
Definitely.
Yep.
Good stuff, man.
That's awesome. Yeah. I don't know how I follow up after that. I've just been listening this whole time.
It's all good.
I totally get it. One of my biggest struggles is like the branding part of it. Like we have some clients that are super strict, and I'll try to like just naturally go outside the lines and outside the box, and then it costs me time because I have to make revisions and this
go
and that.
all the way back.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I kind of gotten to that place of procrastination, I'm like far away from the mic, huh? Sorry.
You're good.
I get to that place of procrastination with certain things because it's like, it's the same thing I did last week, So that was so real. I was like, yeah, that's how it is. But like the moment that I film a video for myself, like I've been doing, I've been making these like 3 to 5 minute like videos and stuff for
That
you.
Which are
last one
straight
you
fire,
made-
by the way.
That
I'm
last one you
sorry.
made was incredible.
Can we just say that real quick?
Yeah.
Like straight fire. Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Okay, anyways, thanks.
He's like, guys, I'm all nervous. It's like, why are my palms sweating?
I'm introverted. No, but like when I make those, like I edit them like same day because like I was like, oh, it's something new, it's something I love, like I can do whatever I want to it. But you give me like some reels, like sets of reels that like I already know what to expect. It's like
I was about to name drop.
Yeah, let's not do that. But no, I hear,
you know,
I hear
and there's
you.
nothing wrong with that at
Yeah.
all. Like I love our clients that like
Yeah.
have those guidelines and things like that because it's working for them, right? But that's why you have to balance personal creativity versus like what's your work. And you really like create it. If work becomes everything for you, like creatively, like you're gonna lose your creativity.
Yeah.
You know. So that's why I'm trying to like continue to film for myself, not for anybody else, and
Yeah.
edit for myself and do all those different things. But
And I would say too, because this is a struggle that I don't know if you guys can relate, but I've faced it quite a few times over the years, where you kind of feel like you're boxed in with what you need to create or expectations and stuff. That if you're not careful, it stops you from dreaming into it, or asking God, "Hey, give me a fresh vision."
Yeah.
Or give me, I want to feel something different. Like I want it to be deeper, or you know, all those different things. And so, I've been learning, and I've been asking God, and just personally for me. And I know some of you may be watching, and you're not maybe fully connected, like faith wise, or I don't know where you stand in your own your own journey, your faith journey, and stuff like that. But like for me, I always talk to God and say, like, God, help me to have a new idea, or help me to have a fresh vision. And if not, I'll journal it down or put it in my kind of my little, library of like ideas and stuff that I may not be able to use for this particular project or for this particular brand or whatever, but I can store that away and then create something fresh out of it. You know, what are some of the things that you do when it comes to that? Maybe you've faced those types of things. And you find that you can't go a certain direction. But then what are some of those steps that you take?
Yeah. Something I felt conviction for a few months back is that I had realized that I'd been going into, things that I've done a million times. Like I've done these shoots 1,000 times. And I would realize that I would rely on my gifting rather than like asking God for fresh creativity every time. Cause I'm like, I've done this before. I have the experience before. I know what shots I need to get and everything, that like I would forget to include him because I'm like, I have the experience, I have the gifting already necessary that I don't need to ask him for, help with this. And so there's a fresh conviction that fell upon me that, am I really doing this like to send a message out, or am I doing this to get clips or to get like a video, just to produce? And like at the end of the day, I'm not trying to get entertainment, I'm not trying to just get people to watch the full length of the video. I'm trying to impart something that I feel is important and worth watching, whether that's a Sunday morning or whether that's an event or whether it's even business related thing. Like there's a message behind it that's important and I want to add value to it. And so if I feel like I'm in a repetitive stage with whatever work I'm working on, I need to ask myself, what am I doing outside of work to feel refreshed to go
So
into
good.
work?
Yeah.
Because I'm not always going to find fulfillment in the work that I do, because there are going to be people who ask for things that I don't want to make, that I don't agree with, but check off all their boxes and their niche that they need. And like sometimes that's just their target audience. Sometimes it's elderly people who want Comic Sans font and whatever else basic thing you could ask for. And I'm like, to me this doesn't look good. This doesn't look pleasing. This doesn't satisfy me.
I prefer papyrus. If we could really throw it back, give me some papyrus, bro.
Give me the first font ever created.
Use Microsoft Paint.
Exactly. But for some people that fits what they're looking for. And so I have to be okay with that sometimes, that like I'm fulfilling their need. Like maybe it's not what I want, but it's what fits their target audience and fits their branding and fits their guide. And so when I go back to my own personal time, I'm like, all right, now I can be creative on my own. I can figure out whatever font I want, whatever look I want. I can go as crazy as I want. And there's no one to like kind of like backtrack me or like pull me back from that. And so I think there comes a sense of freshness going into work when like in your personal time that you've been able to use your creativity to whatever ability you want to create whatever you want. And I think Zach has done that very well. And like recently you've been tapping into that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So cool.
You're gonna y'all just gonna make me start the next conversation? No,
You got it.
You kind of like ended your point, so I can't really like go off of that. But
Well, how do you, because you've been working for this company, obviously. I mean, it's been 11 months now?
yeah,
Yeah. 11 months. You're coming up on a year.
Oh, snap. Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey.
You have to start prepping for a party.
feels longer, but
Well, yeah, your days are like maxed out, brother. Doing like 18-hour days.
not as much anymore.
Yeah.
But
Doing 2 a days.
the past
Oh man. Don't even want to talk
The
about those.
football
Remember those?
PTSD?
Yeah. No joke. No joke.
48-hour days.
Yeah. So what was that process like though, starting up compared to now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And how did you set boundaries, I would say, to stay healthy? Because like maybe you did get to an unhealthy point, but like what was the realization? Like how did you get back into a healthy?
I would say that 9 out of the 11 months were unhealthy. Yeah. It was a drive that I had to like really, I wanted something and I went and got it, I didn't care what it took. It took me like having, 10 hours of sleep, a week, like literally barely sleeping because I just wanted something. I wanted this thing to grow so bad. I would say the process of like where I was in the beginning versus now, it's a lot different because in the beginning it was like, we don't have anything. Oh,
Yeah. You're good.
okay. Yeah, in the beginning, I didn't have anything. I didn't have templates. I didn't have Autopod. I didn't have like QuickBooks. I didn't have like literally all this stuff that I have now. I had to build that in the beginning, as well. Where I am now, it's like I'm delegating, so I'm trying to figure out that. So it's like it's obviously a process in each area that you get to, but yeah, in the beginning, it was more of I wanted something. I went and got it. It was very unhealthy. And I say that because like even now, I don't have much of a community anymore because of that. I have like, Pete and you and Mark and, like the people that are like super close to me, but like I'm not in a group chat, like
Yeah.
that feeling. Like I'm not in a group chat with a bunch of people who like, hey, we're all going to play, this. Hey, we're all going to do this. We're all going to like, it's not like that anymore. So it does become lonely at times, like doing what I'm doing. What was the second question? You asked the second question.
What kind of boundaries did you have to set in for yourself for it to start to feel healthy again?
Exactly. Yeah. So one of the biggest things was cutting back my hours and like for certain things, like cutting back, because it got to the place like where I was working long amount of hours, but like the progression of the work that I was doing was probably the same as if I was working 4 hours, just because I was so tired. Yeah. Does that make sense? So I would say like once I cut back on certain things, like you think like mathematically, oh crap, I'm not going to get everything done. But when you actually make that decision, like, okay, I'm going to cut back on certain things, you're actually way more productive. Like when you are working.
There's something that powerful that comes out of balance?
I feel like I just rambled.
It's
No,
okay. You're
yeah,
good.
fuck, okay,
I mean, be honest. There's something that comes out of having balance. So, I know I can operate a lot more efficiently and sharply if I'm rested, if I'm coming in fresh. But if you're going pedal to the metal and jumping from project to project, because I believe too, as creatives, a lot of us we multitask in some ways, because sometimes of the discipline aspect of it, you're trying to juggle like 16 different things that are going through your mind with this project and this and that, and you're kind of jumping back and forth. But if I can withdraw and then take some time and then come back at it again fresh, whether if it's taking a nap or if it's, I'm going to disconnect for the next few hours and just go do something enjoyable or spend time with my family or get something really good to eat. And then I come back and reapproach it again. It's like, oh, I've got a fresh wind. I'm hitting it a little bit differently. Maybe there's something that was a problem or an opportunity that something I need to solve. You can look at it a little bit differently because you've actually come in with fresh eyes.
Yeah. So one thing that I started doing was if I didn't feel like working, I'm not going to work.
That's hard.
I'm
sorry. Can we just
deadlines?
No, it sounds crazy, but I've noticed like some Saturdays, for instance, like I'll wake up and be like, okay, it's Saturday. I don't have to go into the office. How am I feeling? And some Saturdays I'm like, I don't want to work, so I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And even like Mondays. Obviously K-Wave, that's my ministry. That's like, I have to do that. That's a have to. But with all our stuff, like if at 4:00 when I'm done monitoring Pastor's Perspective for K-Wave, if I don't feel like editing or working, I'm going to go home and watch a movie or something. Yeah. Yes, I have stuff to get done, but I always have stuff to get done.
There's always going to be something. Yeah. It's true.
So if I don't feel like doing anything, I'm not going to, because I know it's not going to be the best that it can be. And that sounds kind of lazy and like, oh dude, like you got to do what you got to do. But I have a different mindset, because whenever I choose to not do things on those days, usually the next day or the day after that, I'm like extremely motivated. So that's going off what you were talking about. Like I'll wake up some Saturdays and I'm like, I want to grind, and I get so much done, and it's enjoyable for me because like I'm in that creative mindset. So like I never make myself work anymore like I did at the beginning. I kind of choose when I want to work, and like yesterday I worked till 12:30 a.m. like
today.
Midnight. Today.
This morning.
Like I worked all night last night.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like I had to. It's just I was feeling very.
You were in the zone. You were ready to go. Yeah.
But like most days I won't do that because I'm tired and I want to go home and I want to go hang out with someone or like do something. But yeah, I think that's a interesting thought. Like,
I think it's good. There is something to be said about that. So you can tell. You can do things like that. You can afford to do things like that, and maybe somebody that's listening or watching, you may be a little critical or self-conscious about those types of things. Well, I feel guilty.
Can
about
I clear
doing
something
that.
up?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to clear something up.
Yeah.
I'm talking about creative work.
Yeah.
So this isn't if you work at Chick-fil-A or Walmart or something like that.
No.
You have to go to your shift.
Well, I was also gonna say like, to like back you up, is that like you're not missing deadlines because like,
exactly.
I didn't feel like getting it done by midnight tonight. This is just like at your own leisure, getting ahead of work.
Exactly.
It's not like
we're
it's due at
usually
midnight, I want to do it.
Yeah.
We're usually a month ahead of everything.
Yeah.
So but yeah, like if you have a shift scheduled for Walmart, like you're bagging groceries at Walmart or something like that, like go, like don't be a prick and not show up because you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
That's lazy.
No, I think it's what I was going to say too is if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a creative and you've got your hands in and you're doing certain things, I would flat out call it being lazy when the results don't show themselves, or when the favor isn't there,
Yeah.
like things aren't working out, like you're really struggling and you're wondering why, hey, I just started this, and you know, I'm trying to emulate somebody that I'm watching online who is an influencer or a social media or a content creator, and they just seem to be blowing up. But what we never understand is all of this behind the scenes stuff that happens that brings that about. You know, it's not just a lucky roll of the dice. Like there are things that are a lot, like it just happens, but I classify that more as favor because I've been consistent and faithful in the little things.
That's really good.
You know, so for those of you who are watching, like there isn't just a magic formula, but I do think that there's passion, there's consistency, there's dedication and devotion, and then also just a commitment to get better, to keep moving forward, you know, and if you don't have that internal drive, the rest of the stuff will never show itself.
Yeah.
But it's for those of us who have that drive that you can find yourself driving too much, that you're overheating and that you're wearing the tread off your tires, and you're
Right.
like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really do need to take a break, you know?
Yeah, and deadlines. Talking about deadlines.
Yeah.
Don't miss your deadline.
Yeah.
I don't care how crappy the video
Don't
is.
do it. Don't do it.
Don't miss the deadline.
Yeah, definitely not.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
No,
like,
no.
Like literally, but like I said, I'm usually ahead of everything. So it's like I have the ability to kind of like choose what I want to do when I want to do it. Yeah. For the most part, on some things, you know,
but it's taking a process. There's a process in it. You know?
But that's not for everyone, you know. That like I don't want to seem like it's okay to be lazy. Like I worked freaking 100-hour weeks to get to where I am now. And I feel like that drive and that motivation and that passion to get something done is good because you're working towards a place where you can rest. You know what I'm saying? Like I can finally like take a trip and go see my mom. I'm flying out in the morning. Like I not have to worry about work, you know? But it wasn't laziness that got me there. It was hard work, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a difference between rest and laziness.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a topic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a huge one. And I'll freaking get animated about that.
Let's
Like,
go.
cause it's no joke. Like it is such an easy trap though, as a creative to fall into, because you've got so many different things you can compare to.
Yeah.
And so many things that what you see visually end up making you think and giving you a false sense of reality. Like, oh, I can just half-ass this and
Yeah.
it'll be good.
Literally.
Yeah. Don't let me forget. I want to ask you something, but one thing that was crucial, I was very much convicted about this. John Mark Comer wrote The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, and I cannot recommend that book enough.
It's a good one, yeah.
But I finally, like 2 months back, I think implemented a Sabbath where Mondays I turn off my phone, I turn off my laptop. I'm not allowed to look at technology. And that as a creative is so hard. I remember the first Monday I had where I did that. And I'm not saying like, hey, this is what you have to do. This is just what I feel is good for me and healthy. But the first Monday I had, I was like, I could just move these files around really quick. I could just shoot that email back really fast. And I was finding all of these justifications for any reason to get back on my laptop. And I was like, that's just me like overworking myself
Justifying
to where,
it.
yeah, I couldn't have one single day away from it. And I was like, if I can't set this boundary now, how am I supposed to have this when I'm married and have kids and all these things? And that's the question I wanted to ask you is how do you, because we work a job where it's not like you clock in at 9, you clock off at 5. It's like people are texting you throughout the night. People are like texting you early morning. How do you function in being present with your family while also like managing the work that you have as a creative?
Yeah, my kids, they
I know, Zach, you can speak to this. I mean, your company is basically your babies.
Oh man.
that's a good question though. Yeah. How do you do it?
It takes I don't always win. Can I just say that? Just being flat out honest. Like I don't always win.
Appreciate that.
I mean, there are times like, for instance, you just talking about, hey, I shut off, and it's like, I can't tell you, dude, we're such good closers. And I mean it this way, as in we're such good closers when it comes to giving ourselves permission to get back in and finish a job.
Yes.
But I have to make a lot of decisions and discipline myself. But I also have to say that I don't do it alone. So one, my kids. So I've got 3 kids, right? My kids, they know, and I'll give them permission to call me out. My wife, same exact thing. I'll give her I need you to help me, or and so what I do a lot of times is I'll set up boundaries. So I'll get home, Zach's like hitting his prime peak hours of all right, here he's going. It's 5:00, and I'm like, dude, I'm in my car driving. I can't work anything. And I'll tell him, I probably won't be back on until about 8:30. And I just lay out boundaries, not for him, but I tell him that because it's for me.
Right.
And so I've had to do a lot of dying to myself to put those boundaries up, to realize that it's for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've had to communicate it in a lot of ways so that I don't put myself on an island and I'm just wrestling with the 15 different tasks in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I prioritize it that way. I look at Zach will be like, hey, this Saturday. And he's like, I'm jumping in. And then I give myself the permission to say, cool, bro, I'm out today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've had to, because both him and I are driven, that my internal flesh wants to be like, bro, Zach's committing time. He's building it. Get into it too. Because the more that we do it together, the more that I believe, in growth and all that stuff. But I've also had to say, no, it's okay. But that's why we're part of a team. That's why when you have community, it's like, hey, I can take some time for me. Mm-hmm. And it's all going to be all right.
Right.
So those are some of the things that I do. But I always have to make sure that communication's good. I'll tell my wife, even in the car, hey, I've got some stuff I've got to do later on today. Yeah. Okay. And then it's just communicating it, putting it all out in the open. And then I set boundaries for myself. All right, I'm not going to touch anything. Even if it's a phone call or a text, I'm like, Zach's on the other line. He's working it right now. He can answer it or whatever. And I'm just going to take it.
Yeah. And it's vice versa as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Can
with
we
his
just
kids.
Can we just talk about the blessing of what it is that we do though? I think about all the time. There's so many benefits to what we do of being okay, I don't know what level you guys are at, but for me, I'm I can wake up at noon if I wanted to. I don't.
Yeah, definitely not possible.
Let me get that. Yeah, I mean, you have a family and all that stuff. But I'm I can take a trip between these hours because I know I grinded out all the work I needed to. I don't have to ask, really anyone for permission to be can I go, take time off or can I go here or there? Because I'm I know that I can, if I work remotely, I can work whenever I want, basically. I know there are deadlines I have to do. I know there's some in-person stuff that I have to go to. But a lot of times I can shift things around to make time for community, to do things that I love, to travel a little bit. And I just think at least the capacity and level that I'm at right now is where I have a lot of freedom to work flexibly around hey, yeah, I can make it to that because I can do the work either in the morning or I can shift it to the afternoon, evening. And I was just thinking about that. I love what I do because it's not oh, I have the 9 to 5 that I have to clock out or ask my boss to be can I take that off? And that's not in opposition to anyone who's been called to that area of field. That's just how I operate, is that I feel very much cool planning out my week of being I know the pace I need to hit my markers, which is really awesome. But I've enjoyed the remote sense of work, which is really cool. But it comes with the other side too of being I like we were saying earlier, you didn't clock out, so you still have text messages and emails to answer to, but that goes back to your boundaries and balance, because there's a sweet middle ground that we have to find, and it's going to come through failure. But there's a lot of lessons to learn from that, and that's so cool to hear your wisdom behind that. Because I'm trying to plan forward to being if I don't set boundaries now, how the heck am I supposed to start once I have a wife and kids?
It's so complicated if you get really deep into it. Mm-hmm. You can move your work around, but when do you say no? When do you say no, I can't, I have to get this done? Mm-hmm. So it's learning.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but like your no is just as important as your yes. Like what you say no to. It's so true.
Or
Like,
do you ever say like, I'll say yes to this thing because, and I'll just have to stay up later to do the work after? Because I find myself doing that a lot.
I did that for like, yeah, I did that a lot, but no, not anymore.
Yeah.
I choose work most of the time now. Just because, you know, like I want, like one day I want to have kids. I want to have a house. I want to have a wife. And like right now, like I posted.
Hear that, everybody? So if there's any ladies out there, so hold up. I mean, I'm the only married guy here. So here's the deal. If I mean, we've got two great gentlemen, you know, single, ready to mingle. And anyway, sorry. Just had to put it out there. You can slide into the DMs. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Just the handles just appear.
Oh man, we got the chat's blowing up.
She's
right
coming.
now.
She's coming.
She's coming.
She'll
Exactly.
be here one day.
Yep.
But yeah, it's
Sorry, I just had to. I couldn't resist, man.
I love it.
yeah. What I was talking about though is like really determining whether or not you say no or yes to something comes down to why do you do what you do. And I posted this on my story last night. It's crazy that I posted because we're talking about this right now. But I took a picture at 12:30, and it was me in front of, you know, my office building, and I was like, "Late nights make the future bright." So it's like I said no to going home and watching TV because, you know, like cooking and like, you know, just like, or maybe I don't know what else I could have done yesterday, right? But I decided to stay in the office late, grind some stuff out so that I can enjoy the weekend and like, but why? Like, why did I stay till midnight? I got to the office at, I think 12. So I was there 12 hours, but like, why? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And it's because I have a future that I see that I don't want my wife. I don't want my kids. I don't want them to have to worry. Like, I want to build something now so that I can make an impact, not only on my family, but on like the community around me. And it'd be cool to hit on that a little bit. Like, what's our goals? Like, why do we do what we do? What do we see happening like in the future? It's like when you're sitting down editing a video, like you kind of forget like why you're doing it, like a lot.
You go into automation mode.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like trying to process all my thoughts right now, but yeah, when I'm sitting down and I'm editing a video and I'm, you know, making something super fun, like, you know, and all of that, I ask myself the question, why? And my ultimate dream is this is a cool thing to share. I want to open up like a community resource center one day. And this is kind of like I've had to sit on this.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah. I've had to sit on this past couple of weeks of like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And this is honestly the ultimate goal, besides like impacting the world through the gospel of Jesus Christ, obviously. But like specifically, like I want to open up like a community resource center for kids, a place that they can come in and have resources, cameras, microphones, studio, MacBooks that they can use to grow in their creative gifts, because cameras are freaking expensive, bro.
Tell me about it.
Like they
just tech period for creative business is expensive.
A lot we probably have $25,000 worth of equipment around here,
something like that. Yeah,
you know, and it's like the biggest thing is like, those kids have so much creativity and gifts. They have giftings that they don't even know about. Imagine if the kids that were like literally super creative picked up a camera for the first time and then right there like made the next big time director, film creator, right? Like, these kids, like, there's a lot of people out there that don't have access to tools and resources and things like that.
Yeah, I think for me, for us, and I think even just the three of us sitting here, like one of my dreams is just so that I can give back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in the same, because him and I both shared the same exact thought about like, I would love to provide opportunities for kids. Because I flash back and I think about myself as a 15, 16-year-old teenager who grew up in a single parent home, didn't have money. Like I worked a job just so that I could help provide food and a 1-bedroom place for my mom and I to live. Like as soon as I could work, like that's where it just went. And I remember having somebody who believed in me, who had some financial abilities, some freedom, and bought me my first piano and bought me my first guitar. Mm-hmm. And look at what's come from that. And so it's the idea of using our creative giftings and the doors and the opportunities that God gives to be able to give back. Because, you know, what you're doing is you're planting seeds. You're never going to be able to tell how much fruit comes from one single seed. But if I keep planting seeds, if I keep trusting and keep believing for someone who doesn't know or who can't maybe believe in themselves yet.
Right.
What kind of dividends, what kind of God math will happen because you stepped out and invested, you stepped out and did this and took that step of faith because you've worked hard. Like that's part of the why for me. Yeah. You know, I don't know. What about you, Jude? Like what?
Well, for me, I don't want it to be like a one-day win I have, therefore I'll give. Because it says God gives seed to the sower.
Yeah.
And it's not like God will give seed to the person who wants to sow or like will eventually sow. It's like God's going to give it to the person who's already giving. And so like we talk about tithing all the time, being like giving the 10%, but like I want to live off the 10%. I want to give the 90. And I never want to get to the point to where I'm like so like headed towards getting all these awesome like gear and all this stuff to like finally have what I need to create this big production and everything, and then miss out on what you're saying, like the kid that's just looking for his first like Canon or his first Sony camera and whatnot, that I miss that. But it's like we have the opportunity to help like get people to the next step in their dreams because of whether physical means or just investment emotionally or spiritually. Like I just want to invest whatever I have been like invested into and give back. And like I just love the concept of that. Like God is going to give to a person who's already giving. He's going to give you that much more.
Yeah.
And so
it's not always money.
No.
Like people get that wrong, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's not always money.
Yeah.
And we have a huge heart for like consulting and helping people grow. Like we had a conversation with this guy. What was his name? He was from, I don't even remember their church, but it was this kid, and he was asking us questions. He hopped on a call with us. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
He's Mike Myola's church. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, like that was so life-giving to both of us.
Yeah.
We got to like answer this kid's questions
Right.
and like help him, and like we didn't get anything from it.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, that was probably one of the most life-giving moments in this journey that we've had.
Yeah.
And that's what the Lord does through giving, you know, like you can give of your time and you can give of your knowledge and your wisdom and your experiences. And like you were saying, so
this is going to sound funny, but like there are like so many little things that God has used to change my life, or things that people have said to me years ago that like now I think about years later, I'm like, that hits now in this season. Like maybe God didn't like highlight that to me then, but like that sentence came back to me and I'm like, oh geez, like that like is super helpful now. But I remember like 8-9 years ago walking in a church, literally the smallest thing ever, but I looked at one of these greeters and they just had this smile that was different than like any other smile that I'd seen. And I was like, I felt the warmth of the Holy Spirit behind that smile. And I was like, that is someone who like came in like being like, maybe I don't have much to offer physically, but like what I can give is my worship. And maybe my worship is in the demonstration of just saying good morning to you and welcoming you in. And I'm like, I want my worship to be beyond my talents and my gifts and everything, because talents is going to get me into rooms that my character can't, but my character is going to sustain me in the areas that my gifting can't.
Right.
And so it's like I've been tasked with being able to hone in the practical skills of my gifting, but I trust that God is opening doors behind the scenes I have no idea about. And he's like, hey, you're not going to wait till the war hits to start getting ready for it. You're going to prepare before the war comes in advance so you're ready. And so I'm doing whatever I can practically, but I'm leaning into the spiritual side of it too, being like, God, you are everything that I am not. You have access to everything on heaven and on the earth to be able to give physical finances, to give opportunities to invest emotionally into these people's lives and all that. And so I love that you tap into, like, as creatives, we have more to offer than just like whether it's like equipment or a set or like, you know, a video or whatnot, but like there's more to this than like just like what we produce in our gifting.
Well, I think a lot of that comes to it as well. It's breaking some mental barriers or some paradigms. Because we all of us in some ways, like we can get caught up in framing our entire life and even our future and our potential by what we lack.
Wow.
But God, last time I checked, wasn't a God of lack. You know, he's the one who promises to bring overflow. And so whatever that may look like, as long as we can make ourselves available and as long as we can make ourselves vulnerable, there's fruit that comes from it, you know? And, man, that's so.
That's so good.
Awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
I don't know, man.
What do I want to do next with this company? That's my question.
Okay. I'll just say this. And then we'll close up here after this. So we posted a video with Eddie. With Eddie.
He changed his name?
Say it again, yeah.
So our episode, what was 3?
3.
Set 2. Episode 2 with Eddie.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
it was a couple episodes back from when you're seeing this. I posted like a short on Instagram, and it was about it. Eddie was talking about like
worship.
Creatives are worship leaders, and how
so good,
and how like just as a drummer could be a worship leader, a creative, someone holding a camera can be. Well, there's these comments and people were like, that's not biblical. And there's a full on, first off, thank you guys for the support on that video. Got like
for real.
It's at like 100K views right now, but there's a bunch of comments of people like, this isn't biblical. This isn't biblical. And I just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Like, why do you think people think it's not biblical? Like, God gives us, we're all a part of a body and each part plays a part in the body. Right. So do you think it's like where do you think they're coming from?
I know Pete has a lot. Has some thoughts.
Here's what I can go through. I can say a lot of different things, but just because I can, I don't want to, because I don't want the heart and the value behind it to come across wrong. So, like, I'm cool for comments and all those different things, honestly. I mean, you know, when you get deeper and deeper into social media, you open yourself up for the comment gang. Engagement, right? Yeah, that's what we call it, engagement. But here's the thing, I would just say this. Like, if you've got thoughts or you've got comments, like, it's cool to leave them, but I would actually ask a deeper question as far as, like, why do you think the way that you do? And not to say, why do you think the way that you do, then to back it up, well, this is this scripture and this scripture. Because here's the reality of it. Like, if we're not disciplined enough and if we're not well knowledgeable about it and also balanced, like health and with experiences, because perspectives, experiences, knowledge, all of those things create a framework with how we see things. And some of us maybe have been burned because we've seen bad ways of people using their creative giftings as worship.
Right.
Where, it was worship, but it was worship towards an individual or it was worship as a mirror. Hey, look at me. And so I'd say, like, really dive in deep to those types of questions and to really start examining yourself. You know, my comments, my feelings, my thoughts can never be directed at an individual or a person, but they really need to be directed back at helping me determine why I think the way that I do, or help me to process so that I can be better, so that I can be more Christ-like. So those are the things I would say for sure in that end of it.
So I'm reading it.
Name drop.
You're
like, at the
No, I'm not.
I don't mind the comments. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm not one to delete his comment but okay. First off, can I just say something?
Yeah.
This was his comment. All right. This isn't biblical. Period. That's not.
Oh, that was it. That was the whole comment.
That was the whole comment.
Like no explanation, no anything.
But then people were like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Blah blah blah." And he said that we didn't provide scripture. And this was my response. Ready? On the More Creatives account. This is funny. This is me
Straight
being
from the source.
This is me being a gentleman. Where is it?
You can usually tell too, like after you respond to them, they'll like by how they respond back to your response usually shows kind of like their character.
Well, yeah.
So this is what I said. Hey, name. We appreciate you sharing your thoughts. We encourage you to watch the entire podcast episode as we do include scripture. Blessings, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, for me,
You got to admit, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
see, and that's why I'd say like dive deeper. Like if something triggers you or you have a response and you want to leave your 2 cents, you know, that's the power of engagement. That's the power of social media. People have armor.
Mm-hmm.
No one sees them, or there's no real relational connection. And so like and I'll just be honest, like, and I believe this for the three of us, because I've gotten to know you guys and we serve together and we do things together. As a creative, I don't want to be prideful, and I don't want to walk into rooms and to walk into relationships being like, hey, I'm the top dog, or those different things. But I want to walk into rooms and say, hey, this is me.
Right.
And what you see is what you get, but I want to be better. But then not only that, with me being here in this room with you, guess what, Jude? Like, I want you to win. If there's something that I can do to contribute, to support you, to love you, to encourage you, to bless you, whatever, that's me. So it's character type stuff, you know, and with social media and engagement, all those different things, a lot of people, man, and it pains me that we can walk into a thing and just drop a comment grenade and not care about what kind of fragments come from that, what kind of injuries may come from that, or what kind of insecurity things may that stir up, you know, because the reality of it is all of us, you know, we can hurt each other with our words, and it's not just audible words, typed words.
Yeah.
You know, I would say, I would encourage this man to be a lot slower to just drop off comment grenades and actually dive a little bit deeper and get to know people and understand the full context of things. And I love reels. I mean, we do all of those things, but reels only capture just a snapshot. And if you talk to anybody who creates them, there are snapshots to help pull you in so you can actually get the full context of what's happening. It's just like somebody who takes a Bible verse and reads one Bible verse and creates their whole life doctrine and stuff out of it. And you're like, what the heck, dude? Like, there's so much more to it that meets the eye. That's just the surface. You know, and it's just like for all of us as individuals, we keep giving so much of our surface selves to people because we're so insecure to actually let people get deeper and to see more of who we actually are.
Sheesh.
Yeah. I'm sure the dude is a great guy.
No, totally. And I commend him for that. Like,
yeah, like I love your opinions. Like they're not right, but they're
we can chat though.
Exactly.
I'd be found down the chat.
Exactly.
You know,
like we can talk about it, but this isn't just about him, like about that one comment that stirred up a whole bunch of stuff in the comment section, but it's about like everybody. Like
there's a heart thing, there's a value thing, there's a character thing.
There's a way to go about it.
Yeah.
DM us. We'll be happy to hop on a call with you and give you scripture, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just like, I guess maybe he was having a bad day.
Yeah,
You know, something like that. But
I always
anyways,
have a song
this is
there.
no shame to him. No shame to
yeah.
anybody who disagrees with
No.
us. Like, please, if you disagree with us, say something. Like, we'd love to talk to you about it. But obviously, we're still learning and growing in this whole thing. And yeah.
Disagree with the purpose of trying to hear
To
the
understand.
other person. Yeah, to learn
Understanding,
more.
to gain better understanding.
I think people disagree just to disagree, and they want to win. Like, that's their whole point. And like, some people will leave comments. I'm not saying this is his intentions, but some people just want to disagree so that like they can sway people over and be affirmed that they're right. You know, most people don't listen to understand. They listen to attack or to like counteract what you have to say. But going back to like kind of like private life stuff too, Ben Hastings has this song that he put out called Dancing with My Shadow.
Oh, nice.
Really good song.
Here, I'll play it real quick.
This is not a dish to you, Ben Hastings.
No,
Don't
man,
listen.
no. Heck no. That's if you were watching one of us dance. That's what the
Yeah.
sound effect would come across.
Cue in Zach dancing.
Okay, anyway,
montage.
sorry.
Sorry.
I just wanted to hit that button. It's been staring at me this
No,
whole
you're
time.
good.
Yeah, you're good.
But the lyrics talks about like the shadow that you draw, and your shadow represents everything that goes on in your private life, everything that people don't see. And kind of like the whole message is he's like, I'm not the person that like you think you see or like that I might be built up to be. There's this whole shadow that I cast that I'm aware about. And like usually we are our own worst enemy. Like anything that anyone could ever say to us, like we know worse about ourselves than they can say to us. But like the whole like purpose of what I'm trying to do is that like I want my shadow to be as minimal as possible. Like you have the sunset shadow or you have the noonday shadow where you barely cast anything. Like my goal is to like have like I have like no distinction between my private life and my public life. Like what you see is what you get. And I would even be bold enough to say more so like, there's more character in my private life than there is my public life that you see, because it starts with an intimate relationship with Jesus every day. That's how I begin and end my day.
Facts.
And so out of the overflow of that, therefore my shadows no longer like exist and there's nothing to hide. But that's what social media has let people do, is that they have this shadow they can live in social media. There's a lot of people with, you know, no profile picture, private account, 5 followers that have a lot to say because they know there's no public life attachment to it. There's no image attached to it. And so it's crazy how bold you can be when there's no repercussions behind it.
Yeah.
That's very true. Good stuff. That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
That's a wrap.
That is, man. This has been fun. It's
been an hour.
Love having you here, man. It's so good. I know Zach and I, we really appreciate you a lot, and you are a gift, my friend. Continue to keep bringing the lens and the perspective that God has given you, and He's shaping in you. I love your openness and your willingness just to keep growing, to keep learning, and to keep making things better. And so that's what you do for us. Oh my gosh, Zach! So this guy, he's all about the buttons today.
Keep them away from the buttons.
Yeah, we're just gonna do that too, right?
Yeah.
So
no, I'm truly honored to be on here. And then they love that I'm on here too.
yeah.
But I was saying I wanted to be on a podcast, like just to go on a podcast because they sound really fun for a long time. But I'm really grateful that no one had me on one, because I was like, if I was on a podcast, then I'd get exposed for just being ignorant. And, not that I've lived a ton of life, but like I feel like in a better place to be able to have these conversations. So
That's great.
Grateful for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming out.
Yep.
Down the
A
road.
whole 5 minutes.
So
Drive.
So for all of you guys who are watching or listening, once again, Zach and I just want to say thanks for jumping on the More Creatives podcast. This is truly a place that we want to create a safe place to talk about creativity, to talk about what does it look like in life, to how do we navigate just different situations, whether it be if you're single, ready to mingle like these two guys, or, you got wife and kids and you're just balancing life and all that different stuff. And each of us are on a process and on a journey. And I want to say that that's awesome and that's cool. And so maybe we help extend the space for you to be able to comment, different things like that, but also to find ways to grow and to become more just become a better version of you. So anyway, thanks for jumping on, guys. Subscribe, share, all those different things. We love you. And
Thank you guys
peace.
so much.